Good morning. Hadn't planned on doing this, but I'm gonna do it. Also, I would have brought like my actual camera instead of my phone. But you know what? The phone will work. I wanted to talk today about generational trauma, specifically like in my family and what I see a lot around me, like in my peers who look similar to me, right? Who have similar experiences to me in this world, and specifically generational fear. Now, my theory is it has come from slavery, and that fear has stuck around until today. It's 2026. I think slavery was ending somewhere around the 1960s, right? So not too long ago, but like, I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna say something controversial. The shit's in the past, right? Like, it's over. But we're still holding it alive today with our thoughts and our beliefs. And so that's what I mean by like the generational fear. And the fear I'm speaking of in particular, because I feel like there's a lot, right, that I want to talk about is fear of like white people. Gotta switch hands. Woo. I don't know how everybody else's family is, but in my experience, my family, close friends, relatives, whatever, distant cousins, there's one common thing, and it's like this dislike of white people, and I believe it stems from fear, and it's turned into hatred, right? Like, for example, from like my experience in my family, I went to school in Maine, and I know before going there was like, are you sure you want to go there? Like, you know how it is up, in those spaces. And you know what? No, I didn't. Like, I have lived in Maryland, DC, Virginia, that area, DMV, all my life. I had no idea what it was like to be a minority, because I had never been. Like, in the areas that my mom chose to live, Black people were the majority. There wasn't a single space where there wasn't. There was maybe like 1 to 5 Black people in the school at most, until I got to 10th grade, and that's when it became more diverse. It was more of a mix, and that was like my first experience. But that was also like, that was a different type. I'm gonna say this, I don't know if this is the right way to say this, right, but it was like a different type of white people. And by different type of white people, I mean like these white people had been exposed to Black culture like from a very young age, so they were familiar with it. And then the Black people that were there were exposed to white culture, so they were very familiar with it. So there was less tension in general, because we both had some underlying understanding, mutual respect for the way we each decided to do things. So now in Maine, there's not a lot of Black people. For many white people that I met, I was like their first Black friend. So I was their first experience of being exposed to Black culture, right? Just to give some background. But yeah, so like my parents and my family were like, and my friends were like, you want to go there with all them white people, girl? I could never. And I feel like it was truly based on fear, and I had some going up there, but I was just so curious, and I wanted my own experience, and I wanted to get as far away from Maryland as I could. I felt like I been there long enough. It's time for me to see something else. And this was a school I got into that was cheap. It was college. But I had all these thoughts that I was fed from like a very young age. Like, white people are racist until proven not racist. Like, and I was telling white people up in Maine, like, yeah, that's what I was taught. Because that's what I was taught. And among other things, and it wasn't always like verbally, like, Jordan, sit down. Let me let me tell you about white people. It wasn't like that, but it was also just picked up, like from things they said about white people, behind closed doors, and the way they interacted, who they invited to the functions and all this other stuff. So it wasn't just like verbally learning these things, like classroom setting style. It was also just, we pick up, we learn by watching others. So it was also in that form. And I'm so glad I went to Maine, because it ended like a lot of limiting beliefs that I had about white people. And it led me to think like, okay, like my parents were saying all this, and my family and friends were saying all this about white people, and from my experience, they were like, Mainers were like the kindest people I had met. Did I have some experiences where I could tell like they had an issue because of the color of my skin? Yes, but like I think out of the 5 years that I was there, that occurred twice, right? It occurred 2 times. And so it was like, I felt like I had experienced like either colorism or racism far more in the DMV area, where it was actually more diverse than I ever did in Maine, which is also interesting to me. I don't understand that. Like sometimes I just think it's too many cultures in the DMV, and people are like, mine is the correct way. And so there's just too much, but I don't know. But yeah, my overall experience was lovely. It was great. And I started thinking like, what are the other countries like? Because going back to this, I'm going everywhere, y'all. These are just my thoughts off the dome. But going back to the generational fear, another thing, so it wasn't just about in the States where I went, because the Midwest, the Deep South, like just the middle of the United States felt all off limits. Like you can't go there because it's dangerous because of the color of your skin. And then to go to these places and then find out that was all bullshit. I was like, hold up, what else is bullshit? What else have I been taught to fear? Like what other beliefs and illusions can I drop? And so then I left the country, and I was so scared. And I remember watching like videos like of other Black women, specifically and masculine presenting Black women, because that's what I was at the time. Or I guess I'll say identify. I don't really identify as it, but I understand that I'm perceived that way, right? So I wanted to see how those people are treated based on how they're perceived. And for the most part, I saw like good things. The darker people were, it seemed like the more instances of, maybe some issues that they might have come across, but nothing to completely like tarnish or sway them from, having a similar experience again, because it was just so minute, that little part. It was easy enough to like ignore it and keep it pushing. So I went to Spain and I loved it. For the most part, everybody was really nice. Yeah, we had a couple people who were rude, but like I encounter people who are a little rude every day in the States. Then I was like, okay, where else can we go? And I had been to Bermuda before in Canada, but like I didn't really count those. People were nice there, right? And then we were like, okay, let's go to Mexico. People were nice there. And everybody was like, oh, Mexico's so scary, like the cartel and this and that. And mind you, I'm not staying on resorts when I go to these places. We're staying in Airbnbs. Like some of these places we stayed, like in Spain, we stayed in local hotels, right? Like these aren't international hotels. And it was all Gucci, no problem. In Mexico, we were in an Airbnb. Like we're getting immersed. Like we don't like going to places and being on a resort and never interacting with the people. I don't even understand what the point of that is. Like you can do that in the US, in my opinion. So, but then after Mexico, it was like, Mexico was really fun. The people were really nice. They're trying to get us to drink tequila at like 9 a.m. But everybody was really nice. So again, this generational fear. Like you can't go nowhere because the color of your skin. And, there were some places that I chose that were brown. There were some places that I chose that were white. Like then we went to Italy. Again, like I heard I heard 50-50 things about Italy. My experience there was great, had no issues. Now, Naples and Rome felt ghetto. I was in southern Italy. But other than that, I felt like, again, welcomed. I felt safe. Way safer than I do a lot of times in the U.S. And then we went to Costa Rica. And that's where I am today, because I just loved it here so much that I was like, fuck everywhere else. I love it here. And like all that fear that was instilled in me at a young age from each experience of visiting other countries, I realized was an illusion. It was trauma, generational trauma from what I believe to be back during slavery, when it was really dangerous to be black and go some places. And again, I'm not saying that train of thought doesn't still exist somewhere, right? Like, I'm not saying that it doesn't at all, but it's not as prevalent as my parents were trying to have me believe, right? And honestly, like, I believe in the power of the mind. I believe that if you really believe and think that white people, or that, it's dangerous for you to go somewhere, or that this you shouldn't do this because this is going to happen to you, and you really believe that with your whole chest, then that is what the universe is going to put in your reality. It's going to confirm your belief, because that's what you're putting energy into through your thoughts, through your emotions, and that's what you're creating. So that's what you're going to interact with, and that's the kind of experience you're going to have. But that's not my mind. My mind is, I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to get immersed in the culture. I'm going to meet really kind people. Like, I'm going to have really great experiences. Like, those are my thoughts. And those are the thoughts that I put energy into. And that is the reality that is reflected back at me. That is what I see. So I guess I had this big awakening when I started traveling. Like, wow. Like, the world is what you make it. Pretty much. Like, if you want to see fear and negativity and racism and colorism, that's what you'll get, right? And I don't mean this in the way that, like, say you are in just like a racist ass area. Like, people just still have that thought, right? They haven't decided to let go of those limiting beliefs yet. I'm not saying stay there and believe that these people will see you for something other than the color of your skin. What I'm saying is, if you change your belief about people as a whole, and like, this isn't all people because it's these people, your thoughts and your emotions will create actions that remove you from that environment in its entirety and start showing you the reality that you're thinking about and putting energy into. So, like, maybe that is it, but you're like, all people can't be like this way. I know there's better. All of a sudden, like, maybe you get a job offer in another country where everybody is nicer. People have different thought systems, around people's color of skin, right? And then you're finally seeing what you've been thinking all this time, what you've been believing and putting energy into. Like, the universe created the reality that you knew existed, that you believed in before you even saw it. And so that is my whole point of this, like, rant. And I just really wish that my family, like, felt this or knew how to use this, because I was doing this unconsciously. I didn't realize how much I could control my reality from my thoughts. So I wasn't even aware of my thoughts, right? Like, I didn't even know we were separate, or like I wasn't them, I should say. And I'd be trying to tell my family this, but they'd be like, will they be like how they be? And I don't know, sometimes it gets a little frustrating. So I had to I didn't have to, but I wanted to do a little rant about it today. Like, and so I always like to end with a question, because I'm like, yo, has anybody else experienced what I experienced? Like this generational fear. Did you get out of it? Like, and like, what was your journey? Like, what were your thoughts about it? Are they similar to mine, or are you just like, nah, my parents was right, and I stand by that? Oh man, I'm gonna continue this hike. Shit's crazy. I can't even believe I've been looking at the camera. Like, guys, like, it's just like straight downhill. Like, it's a beast. So I'm gonna lock in because I got to start walking up soon, and that's when it gets painful. So much love, happy healing, break that generational trauma.